Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bristol Town Council meeting of November 29th. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sometimes a good Christmas is when you get a lot of things. Other times is when it's a really short agenda, which is exactly what we have this evening. We're going to start off with a couple of important points, but first, we don't normally do this, but I'm going to ask the administrator just to elaborate just a little bit on the Ferry Lane update, and I ask that because it was initially a big challenge, and it still is a challenge for everyone, and I'd like to get an update for the public, if you would, Mr. Administrator.
Certainly can. And Jose De Silva, our Water Pollution Control Superintendent, he's here also. The utility company is ahead of schedule. They had planned to work until December 15th, and the plan was to get from Wood Street on Ferry to Griswold Avenue. They're currently at Griswold, so they're going to keep moving forward and get as much as possible done this year before they pick up again in the spring. Again, a reminder about the project. It was approximately $1.9 million. The goal is to increase capacity, replace the aged concrete asbestos line, eliminate the bottleneck where it goes from 12-inch to 8-inch at Ambrose Drive. And an additional item we added to the job was to add laterals where the homes are on the west side of Ferry Road. In the event that we have to abandon the main along the shoreline on Bristol Harbor with sea rise, it's already done, and those houses can attach. So we're doing that right to the property line. That wasn't something that we initially planned on doing, but while we're doing it, we're still planning on staying within budget and hopefully on time, or maybe even ahead of schedule. But the traffic, the first few days, it was tough. There were delays. We've adjusted. We've worked with the engineer, the contractor, the police department very closely, and we've been able to open up southbound traffic on Hope Street. It's not a guarantee depending on what's going on with the crews and the vehicles, but we're trying to keep southbound on Hope Street open throughout the day on Ferry Road. But it's not a guarantee. It seemed to have alleviated some of the backup, and we're doing much better with the flow of traffic, mainly in the morning. That's when we're having backups. Other than that, that's where we're at. Any questions? As I said, Jose De Silva is here.
So I live, some of you may know, I live on Fester, which is that general area, and it's tough in the morning to leave. The kids have to go to school. My wife goes up on Medicom. My point in sharing that with you is that if you were shopping downtown, like going to the bagel place in the morning, or Dunkin' Donuts, or Bristol Family Restaurant, or any one of the nice places, please continue to do that. Take that extra 5 minutes and support the businesses. We often talk, this council and this town, about economic development. Take a moment out of your day. If you were doing that, continue doing that if you would. They would appreciate it. And certainly it's not that big of a deal. It's a little bit of extra work, but it's worth it because those local businesses support a myriad of things, including our Little League, and I can go on and on and on, and I won't. But thank you, Mr. Administrator. And hats off to the Chief. The response was great. There were some issues right at the beginning, as the Administrator said, and it's 100% better now. So next, before we get to the regular agenda, we have an announcement. We have Sergeant Ricardo. I'm sorry. Why am I having a brain fade? Morado. I apologize, Sergeant. I was looking at it and I wanted to say it differently.
At least you don't spell my name 3 different times in the Phoenix. Same article.
And there's your dig.
My name is Sergeant.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Sergeant Ricardo Morado with the Bristol Police Department, as everyone here knows. I appreciate taking the time to listen to this program that we have implemented in Bristol with the blessing of our Chief of Police, of course. The program is called the Lockbox Program. I started thinking about this out of necessity back in May. Oftentimes, the Bristol Police Department responds along with fire and rescue to homes where elderly people have either hit the auto dial button by accident or intentionally, or they simply call 911. And what we find ourselves having to do, which I experienced this at least 4 times this past summer, it's having to crawl through a window if we're lucky enough to find a window that's open. Worst case scenario, we have to break down the door. And that's not something that we automatically say, okay, let's break down the door. It's a process that takes time. We have to see if there's a key holder in town or nearby. If we find out that they're renting the property, we try to locate a landlord and see how far that person is. And oftentimes, as it happened this past summer, we can hear them on the other side. I'm on the kitchen floor, for example. That was one of the incidents that we had. So I kept asking the fire department, how about these knock boxes that you see? There's probably one outside this building right now. Why can't we install those? And the people that have these medical alert buttons, and not only them, how about the disabled? We had an incident also on Constitution Street back in August that we had to kick down that gentleman's door. It's a cost to them, an expensive one. So the knock boxes cost $250 to $300, and those things have to be mounted outside the resident's home. So I'm also a realtor, and I was racking my brain after an incident on High Street where we almost kicked down this poor lady's door, and she was hard of hearing, and she couldn't hear us banging on the door, but she finally came to the window, and she actually hit her button by accident. And the idea is to use these real estate lock boxes. These things have 10,000 combination possibilities. So the way the program is going to work, first of all, I got realty companies, Home Depot, and everyone else to donate these boxes for Bristol.
Spectacular.
That way there's no cost to taxpayers or anything like that. So what I did, and I installed 3 today, as a matter of fact. I go to the person's home who qualify, fit a certain criteria. I got together with Ed Carusi, who administers the auto dial buttons. And he came up with a list of people that he thinks could benefit from these lock boxes, live alone, no family or friends in the area that can come immediately to open the door. So what we do is the way the program will work. I go to the house myself or Elderly Affairs Officer Russell Wood, and we have a simple form that they'll fill out with us. And basically it's name, address, emergency contact number, and location of the box, combination, and which door will the key open. So we don't necessarily put this on the door itself. I can put it on a rail, which I did today. I can put it on an electrical meter, for example, gas pipe. It can be put anywhere but a door, which is my intentions. I don't want to use it for the door for its intended purposes because it's kind of encumbrance and you can't really get to the door, the tenant or the resident. The key to this program is then this information gets loaded into our IMC file. So for example, if this address pops up, say 122 Church Street, it will automatically show lockbox code, number, location, rear stairwell, rail, access, rear door. And we've also updated their contact information.
So, Sergeant, you said IMC, is that correct?
It's the system that all the police departments use throughout the state.
So if you are dispatched to a particular place, you'll be able to see where it is. They have one, where it's located?
The dispatcher will, correct,
Gotcha.
in our dispatch center. And that's throughout the state. We all share the same system. Each one has their own system, but it's the same system setup. We're the only ones that will have the code to each box. The police department will. I don't want it to be where the homeowner forgets the key or one of the kids come over and visits and they forgot the key. They use the key out of the box, and then in an emergency, the key's not there because they forgot to put it back in the box. So we've gotten really good response. I have people, I'm expecting a wave of people that want these boxes, but
So, Sergeant, to increase that wave, how would one reach out to you, or who is the appropriate person to say, I'm interested?
Right now, it'll be myself.
Okay.
They've been calling the station, and as soon as they say a lockbox, the dispatcher knows which extension to forward that call to. Right now, I'm expecting a wave of people, and we'll kind of vet them out a little bit. Do you live alone? One of the numbers at Carusi's list, I talked to the daughter, and she says I'm here all the time, so that wouldn't be beneficial to me, and that's fine. So we want to really target the people that need it. But in the end, if this program helps us get in that house for one person, to me, the program has been a success. So
I think it's a great initiative, and I hope it grows and keeps growing. And just say it again, the lock boxes are between 200 and 300, did you say?
So the lock boxes that are $250 to $300, they're the commercial grade. These
Commercial
lock
grade.
boxes on Amazon are $18 and they're $36 at Ace True Value.
Yep.
So
Well
it's
worth
very
it.
economical.
Well worth it.
And we'll keep recycling them. As they don't know, the resident no longer needs it, we'll take it and just recycle it. We can change the combinations at any point, so.
Great.
That's what I wanted to ask. So if you have to use it and it comes up on the scanner or whatever it is, then do you change the combination afterwards?
That's a good point, and that's something I just talked over with one of our dispatchers tonight. So what I would like to do is, we keep it very secure. Like, for example, the combination to the gate at North Farm, it's never broadcast on the radio. It's either text or call the station. But in the event that we really need to get in the house and we do have to call it over the radio, we can change that in seconds. We can just add a new, change the combination, and then just update our site file.
Oh,
Now, we want to make this as safe as possible for any participant.
Now, what about people that don't have a dialer, but maybe live alone?
I also want to reach out to those people, like I did today. For example, the gentleman that lives on Constitution Street doesn't have the dialer. However, he's wheelchair bound, and we had 2 incidents this past summer, one of which we had to break down his door. So that's a perfect person to be in this program, because he has medical issues and sometimes he cannot get to the door. He literally fell off his wheelchair and there was no way to get to him. So.
Sergeant, about 2 meetings ago, we spoke about electricity going out, neighbors helping neighbors. I think this is one of those things, if you're watching on TV, if you're here, and if you know somebody that might benefit from this, maybe you can ask them to reach out to the police department, or maybe you know somebody who knows somebody, but assume that people are not aware of this. So tell your friend, tell your neighbor, of someone that could benefit from this. A couple of minutes, I mean, you described 5 minutes of being able to get into a place may make the difference of somebody living or dying.
Exactly.
So I think it's a phenomenal program.
Thank you.
I certainly applaud you, Sergeant Morato and Chief, and your department, along with the fire department, for this proactive measure. We talk time and time again here in the community of what we can always do better. And this is an extremely important topic that you initiated, and I'm very happy to, I believe we will be the first community in the state to implement this.
We will be, correct.
So on behalf of the residents, and as we talk about the elderly, especially by themselves, but as Councilwoman Perella said, anyone who lives by themselves, they might have a medical need or something, and this is more of a security blanket. And I think by this advertisement here tonight is very crucial and important to convey to the residents. So I'm glad we're doing this. But also the website was mentioned. Any tool that we can get out to the public, as the chairman said, word of mouth or anything, because I think this is a very vital program, and I'm just very happy that we have it here in Bristol, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I do one other quick question. Are you accepting or able to accept donations towards it? So like Ed, when we took it out of the budget, we leave it a small amount in just in case we need it, but then people are more than willing to make the donations to have that.
That's a topic that I discussed today with the Rotary Club, for example. They love the idea also. I'm not a 503c.
Right.
I would, if anyone wants to donate, they can donate the boxes themselves. Also, they can also donate to Ed Carusi. Mm-hmm. He's able to do that through his auto dialer program. And one last thing I want to add that I forgot to mention. Mike Ursillo's office was kind enough to do a waiver for us to further protect the department and the town from, just say they changed the lock for whatever reason and didn't tell us, or the lockbox for whatever reason is malfunctioning, and we still have to kick down that door, which we would have the right to get to them. It's just an added layer for ourselves. And so far, the 3 people that we signed up today and I installed the boxes, they have no problem with that, if you explain it correctly. So.
Well, actually, if we do have a program going forward for donations, which I think is a wonderful idea, you can actually call it Unlock Your Heart, and there's your title for it. So.
Oh, I mean, like somebody would be able to be happy to get that for $30, you know what I mean, and put it on there to feel secure.
Sergeant, so to review, if they're interested, call the police department, and they'll be directed to you.
And if I'm not there, they'll be directed to my voicemail, and I'll return a call the next chance I get.
And if you're interested in donating to this worthy cause, you can reach out to Ed Carusi, and how you do that is just call Town Hall, and we'll connect you to Ed.
Correct.
Thank you. This is excellent.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Well done. Well done.
Mr. Chairman, I would be remiss. Officer Woods is with us, and I just want to acknowledge Officer Russell Wood for your award from the AAA on behalf of the town of Bristol. So we just commend you for that on behalf of the department.
Thank you very much. Yes, if I could also, both officers worked very hard, both Sergeant Morado and Officer Wood, along with the fire department, the fire chief and battalion Chief Vieira were instrumental in making this come to fruition. As the sergeant said, this is both for elderly and handicap. We respond to numerous calls. Also, at the same time, we will be building a site file, so during these emergency situations with power outage and stuff, we'll be able to reach out to these people and make sure that they're well taken care of ahead of time. So I think we've covered everything, but like anything else, this will be a trial basis for us as we move forward. If we need to tweak certain things, we will. We'll also be putting it up on the webpage at the police department within the next day or two, where calls will be addressed directly to Sergeant Morado or Officer Wood. So just give us a little bit of time. We're going to put it all into place. My plan is to report back to you within the next 6 months through the administrator's office. I'll let you know how many have been administered and the feedback. As like anything else, we like to tweak it and make it almost as perfect as we can. Okay? Thank you very much.
Senator Coyne?
Yes, thank you. My name is Cindy Coyne, and as you know, I'm the senator for District 32, which covers Bristol, Barrington, East Providence. I'm also a retired member of the Rhode Island State Police. I've worked closely with Sergeant Morado in the past. And I just wanted to state my support for this program. I think it's an excellent idea. It's a common sense approach to assisting our seniors or the disabled who may need assistance immediately. So I do want to commend the Bristol Police Department, Sergeant Morado, and I've already reached out to Michelle Jeremiah from Barrington, who is the director of the Senior Services, to explain about this program, and hopefully we might be able to bring it to Barrington as well, and perhaps East Providence, which is also my district. So thank you for your time and listening to me, and I commend you.
Thank you, Senator. Did I say this was a short meeting? Chief, you are always welcome to speak, please.
Mike DeMello, Fire Chief here in Bristol. Just to echo it, I think it's a great, secure, cost-effective alternative to the commercial key access boxes, which really are not designed for single-family residents. I just wanted to remind the businesses that may be listening tonight that the fire code still requires the commercial key access box at your location. And a couple of points that were brought up tonight also is if you have family members or know of people that need assistance routinely, the Department of Health has a special needs registry. You can contact the fire department, and we can help you walk through that process to get registered, which actually connects to the 911 database. Things like non-ambulatory, needs oxygen, stuff like that will come up automatically on the 911 screen. So we can facilitate that, or you can visit the Rhode Island Department of Health website to also facilitate that information. And I handed out some emergency preparedness guides to most of you. I may have handed them out earlier. There are some in the back here, along with some calendars with a couple of safety things. In light of the recent storms and what seems to be a trend on more storms, the biggest way that we can help you is if you help yourselves and prepare yourself for at least the first 72 hours after an event, which gives us time to get resources and manpower squared away so we can help you in those types of emergencies. So, thank you.
All joking aside, Chief, thank you. Mr. Clerk.
First item on this evening's agenda, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is the consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The
Thank you.
next item is submission of minutes of previous meetings, items A1 through 7.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second and a feedback. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. You can hear that feedback, right? Okay, all right.
The next item is a public hearing to consider the additional operational hours of certain establishments. This is renewals. You have a late item recommendation by the Town Administrator and Chief of Police recommending approval of these licenses.
So this is a public hearing. I'm going to open up the public hearing. Before I do that, I just want to speak on exactly what's being requested. Additional hours of operation for Cumberland Farms on Metacom Ave, or across from the police department, would be between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. I'm reading this right from the license request. And Dunkin' Donuts on Metacom Ave, 381 Metacom Ave, additional hours would be 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. So I'm going to open up the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak against? Is there anyone here to speak against? Is there anyone here to speak against?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. What's this council's pleasure?
Motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, item D1. This is the petition of Erin Metcalf on behalf of the Newport Music Festival. This is their annual request to have a one-day dancing and entertainment license for an event to be held at Blythewold Mansion on December 2. You have a recommendation of the Town Administrator, Fire Chief, and Chief of Police all to approve.
Motion to approve upon all the recommendations for the date specified.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item is item F1. This is the petition of Mary Ellen Jones, 211 State Street, request council consideration for an accessible parking space in front of her residence. This is the first reading. There are several recommendations provided by Town Administrator, Director of Public Works, to approve, and Chief of Police to approve with certain conditions.
Motion that this constitutes the first reading.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And you have the petition of Eleanor Lawton, 70 King Philip Avenue, request for no parking area along the west side of King Philip Avenue from Dyer Street south approximately 57 feet. You have a recommendation from the Director of Public Works who recommends denial of the petition for reasons, and also a recommendation from the Chief of Police to approve same.
So I reached out to the administrator and I talked about this, and the chief and I talked about this, and I know that typically we don't have a difference of opinion, but it just sounds like we may not have a difference of opinion. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Mr. Administrator or the chief?
As the council is aware, we don't take these very lightly because this kind of opens up the floodgate when you allow a certain area of a street for no parking or just designated area in front of a home. Before you know it, it grows legs, and everyone on the street feels that maybe they should have the same privilege. And as we know, parking's always difficult for almost any neighborhood in this community. So the long and the short is, after looking closer at this with the Director of Public Works, I think the prudent thing at this time would be to do this on a trial basis. Let's see how it works. If it doesn't create a problem, we'd like to report back to the council and say that it's a go. If it creates some issues and all of a sudden there's problems because every other neighbor wants to have a parking spot there, then I would recommend that we take, again, a closer look at it and maybe not approve it. So at this point, I would recommend that we approve it on a trial basis moving forward 60 to 90-day trial basis would work, I believe.
So potentially our first February meeting, would that be an appropriate amount of time, you think?
Yeah, why don't we start with that period there?
Thank you.
So I was just going to suggest, and this should be handled administratively between now and then we can come back if we want to actually adopt an ordinance.
So what should this potential motion be here then?
To permit the administration to allow this to occur between now and February with a report back to the council with their findings.
So moved.
Second for discussion. Speaking of the area that's presented here tonight in front of us on King Philip, once it starts from Sunrise to Dyer, I had spoken to the chief, it especially gets even narrower when you go north towards Narrows to Division Street and on the way out. So with that said, I think maybe we can, if we're going to do this, why don't we make it all of west from the specified area all the way to Narrows and do it all at once, because it's only worse at that area, and I don't believe any car should be on that west side as well. And I think, I don't know if we would have to advertise again before we do this. That's just my thoughts to my colleagues.
So you're proposing a larger area to encompass more than what was initially proposed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, because to accomplish what is being proposed, it's actually narrower from Division all the way out to Narrows. So if this is pertaining to safety, which I agree with the police department, why don't we just do it all at once of that west side of the road, because I think it has the same initial impact, and I don't think, pretty much there's a residence that it's a stone wall anyways for most of that way, going from Division out to Narrows. So I think we should just make it all the way since we're doing a trial period.
I think kind of the bottom line is that, and probably the best course of action, I would say at this point, would be simply to refer it to the administrator and with a requesting report back in 3 months, because your authority would mean that you were going to have an ordinance and go through the readings and all that other stuff, which if it's trial, it's not a practical way to approach it. So
I'll just do a motion to ask the administrator and to work with the appropriate agencies to set up a trial program in this area that they deem is the appropriate length in scope, and to come back to us in 90 days with a report.
I think that'd be prudent, and we can get the feedback from the residents. Reminds me a little bit of Metacom Avenue with the trial, the pilot with the turn lane seems to be working. So we'll give it a try, and we'll report back.
Okay. So on a process end of things, there's a motion on the floor from you, Tim, to do exactly what was requested earlier by the chief. Can you amend? I know Mary made the motion, but either can you rescind or amend?
I'll amend.
Okay.
That's fine.
And Mary, I'm going to take that as a second then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Excellent idea.
okay, the next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, speaking of Metacom Avenue Turning Lane Pilot Program, would be Councilman Stewart's request to have that topic on this evening's agenda. That's item I-1.
I'll try to make it quick without everyone getting all this feedback from my microphone. I'll try to be soft, but so Metacom Avenue, there was a statement made a couple weeks ago in the Phoenix, nothing's happening. That's not the case. Something is happening. I'm very elated to see the striping between Chestnut Street and Bayview Avenue for the center turning lane. I would like to thank my colleagues once more for when I presented them with the letter of intent to the Rhode Island Director of Transportation and the department to incorporate this pilot program before the stages of the other projects that will be taking place in Bristol over the next couple of years. So with that said, I also thank the chairman and the administrator and department heads when we all met, because I know there were reservations of the pros and cons of going forward. When I took a ride with the DOT, and I can't forget the hard work and expediting work of Representative Ken Marshall from its inception with this, because For many years, this was talked about in the town of Bristol and how it's important that we keep the traffic flow going on Metacom. So we already have existing center turning lanes where Stop and Shop is, Fatima Drive, Gooding Avenue, and some cross streets. So this is just another stage of just adding another piece of more defined, because some of the reservations that were mentioned was where's the curbing and the sidewalks. Reality has it, as we all know, driving Metacom Avenue, that a lot of people weren't on the center line when they were turning left, and they would halt up traffic. The ones that didn't want to halt, they would drive up on the sidewalk. Now that there's the 3 lanes, the middle lane will have that car turning defined, so traffic will flow right by them without going on the sidewalk. That's not to say that in the future we are going to do the sidewalks or curbing. That will come in at a later time. I know there was concerns about mailboxes. I, for one, with this initiative going forward, would entertain the fact, after more discussions with my colleagues and the state, of our residents, because safety is paramount, and there's not a lot of them, but incorporating with this project, maybe having a double-sided mailbox where they can take their mail, like other communities do, from the reverse side of the mailbox. So again, I think this is a positive feedback. The flow of traffic is a key initiative to keep going, and the safety of our first responders and police to have an access in case of emergency on Metacom. I think this is just one part, because once we do the project of Tupelo and Chestnut Street intersection, and then it will be Bayview after that, and then the sidewalks and curbing. With those projects, we can actually do more pilot programs with temporary striping like it is now between Chestnut and Bayview, until we can actually do all of Metacom, which is the ultimate goal. But that's just going to be stage by stage, because this is an assessment right now, as we talked about, Mr. Administrator. It's a pilot program, so we're assessing going forward with the pros and cons amongst all our colleagues of if we're going to just continue with this. I know it's frustrating with the timetable. This is a long project of, Diane, I would imagine 3 years realistically, with the intersections, so we could piece by piece with those intersections, another turning lane, and at the end of the day, the question that I know comes from everybody is, when are we paving Metacom? Well, we're going to pave Metacom when all these projects are done, and if we assess that the center turning lane is the future for Bristol, because the reason why this is an important initiative for mine ever since I got into office is because it's for future generations, and as elected officials, we always want to keep a place better from how we found it, and to keep traffic going with the initiatives that we're working on here in Bristol. So with that said, I just want to hear from my colleagues of the feedback that you're getting. I've been getting positive feedback. Again, I know the winter's here, so realistically, when the snow comes, I don't think it's going to be 3 lanes, so we just have to use logic. It'll be down to 2 lanes, depending on how they plow, and we just have to deal with that. But for the time being, if we have 3 lanes when it's good weather, I think that's good, and we're just continually going to work on this project with the administration, department heads, and the Rhode Island DOT going forward, and I'm just very happy that we're on to the right path. Thank you.
Oh, I think everybody, everything that I've either heard or read in the comments in the paper, everybody's very positive about it. Makes travel a lot easier, I think. And as you said, it's a good solution. The whole Metacom Avenue project has been put off for as long as I can remember, and I've been on and off the council many years. This project should have been done like 30 years ago, like maybe. So at least this is a step in the right direction, and I think it's going well so far.
Yeah, I just will also echo a lot of positive feedback. I was driving down Metacom, and actually the emergency vehicle was able to go right up alongside of me. Boom, boom. A little jarring at first, but, it worked out really nicely. So it's good to see it in use. But, I saw a couple people that are a little hesitant to use the middle lane, but now I notice a lot more people are using it, which is good.
I'm smiling because you actually said driving down Metacom, and that's Friday afternoons. It's difficult over there, and it's much better now. But as Councilman Stewart has already mentioned, those intersections will be widened, literally widened, so you won't have that congestion and slowdown that we do right now. So particularly Tupelo tends to be a bad one. But this is the first step, and it was hats off to you, Councilman Stewart. This was a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of energy, and this is the first step to a larger world. So what's your pleasure? And I'm sorry, anybody else want to make any comments?
Just all positive here.
Anybody? Mr. Administrator?
I'll weigh in from administration. We did have some reservations when we met our department heads, and we had some reservations, but I have to give Councilman Stewart credit. It was he pushed with the state here in the town hall that day, and it's working. I know, Nathan, you were there. I know Ken Marshall was there also, but we argued a little bit with the state, and it appears to be panning out. I'm getting very positive feedback, and I'm actually seeing it also. So
it's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I don't think there's anything to report until we meet and have our future meetings with all of us as colleagues for this going forward with the intersections and whatnot. So I just receive and file.
Thank you. Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman and members of the Town Council, is correspondence from Darren Earley, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, requesting council support of an application to U.S. Foreign Trade Zones Board.
So I reached out to the contact that was listed on here, not Darren, but it was John Riondo, if I'm saying that correctly, and asked some questions about this. I was not clear on the specifics and why this was in front of us. A federal trade zone is an area, and there's one next to the TF Green, as one comes to mind, and there's a couple of others in Rhode Island. This request from us to support this action is actually to make the whole state a federal trade zone. And my understanding of this is that it would allow companies, and we'll use Bristol as an example, a company that makes boats, because we have some boat builders, needs to buy a specific set of tools, or I'm sorry, a specific resin or something that's a non-manufactured item. It would allow them to buy it without the tariffs that would normally be applied to this because it's being imported from a foreign country, as long as that product, that end product, would then be exported. So, and I asked the question, and I'm sure you all were thinking the same, is that why would we support something that could potentially take business away from the people who make that resin in the United States? And the answer was, he gave me an example. There's a boat builder, not here, in I believe it was Maryland, who ended up building a boat that was spec, and spec meaning the person who asked for the boat to be built said, I need X, Y, and Z, and I need this from here and this from there. They ended up being able to build the boat at $150,000 less than what it normally would have cost. And they ended up exporting it to Puerto Rico, which, if you're thinking that's part of the United States, it's kind of part of the United States. And that's where all this stuff gets a bit strange. So I am not an expert on this, but I asked these questions, and I wanted to make sure that if this council saw the value of supporting the next step here, were we supporting our local businesses and also our businesses in the state? And the emphatic answer was yes. This sounded like specific issues that would come up, but there are local businesses who have great relationships with suppliers, and that wouldn't change. This would only be to allow them greater access to greater business, which of course benefits all of us. So that's what I found out.
Well, I'm all for better and stronger businesses, but I would like to know, for the municipality, are we on the hook for anything? Are there any risks for us?
So John said no, and in clean and emphatic no, which is really rare. I know. And his response was it wouldn't change our local taxes, our inventory tax, none of that changed. And also how the product gets imported doesn't change. It doesn't go fast. It doesn't go through customs in a different way. It's all the same stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just they don't have to pay tariffs on this in an enterprise zone that this speaks of. Again, it wouldn't be specific to Bristol. It would be the whole state. And I don't want you to get the idea that I'm pushing this. I took the time that I wish we had more clarity in this application. So they're asking us to support this, And ours would, either way, would not maybe push it too far, but I think it's another tool in their toolbox to help them be successful in this. It seems to make sense to me.
So I agree with Councilman Sweeney, and also the, reservations that you might have, but it actually states that this, reading into it, this program involves federal custom duties only. All state and local laws still apply, and there's no cost to the program for the municipality. My question, as the chairman stated, is, what's our municipality stance of, I said, is there something that we should know that this is going to apply to here in our town, with regards to business? But actually it says this will make it easier for small and medium-sized businesses, which time and time again here in Rhode Island, we always talk about the small and medium businesses, what we can do. So if this is just a tool which is needed on the economic platform for companies and municipalities, then I think it's a good tool. And if municipalities don't have access to this unless it could get approved with the support from municipalities, then I think we can support it. And like anything, I always say we can support it, and if something happens in the future, we could take it up with the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation to state how we feel at that point. So.
Well, I just had a quick question. I mean, when I read through it, it seemed to make sense to me. And then my question when I read through it, I think was answered, as you pointed out in the email we received today, which was, I just wanted to make sure that nothing changed in relation to us, particularly citing a business or zoning, planning, anything like that. So I think that may be answered, but Nathan, are you clear, is this an automatic designation once the state submits the application, or would we be in competition with other states? Because they reference it as a grant, I believe, throughout the document.
So we're in competition. So it's not an automatic. So
we're just like it's being submitted on behalf of Rhode Island.
Right, exactly.
And did they mention whether most of the communities are on board? I mean, one of the things about this is, the point you raised is like, does this then say to a business, wow, I can get this widget a lot less expensive from another country, and I can get it imported right to me here, so I'm going to use, well, then it has to be exported, you said, so that might not.
And that was a really key point, was that it was being imported as a rough material, if you will, and then has to be exported. That's how you forego those tariffs. Most businesses are not going to be necessarily exporting their goods, so they wouldn't go down this road anyway. They'd still get their widget from the local widget guy in the next town or the next street over. I mean, that's the only thing. I was as concerned as you are, is that I don't want to take business away from someone who makes something here if they can get it cheaper, if this allows for cheaper import, but it's specific to exporting again. So it gives an opportunity where I believe one does not currently exist. So opens the door for more revenues for our local company in this instance.
Did the gentleman you spoke with provide any indication if most businesses are on board with this?
He was, and I asked that question, I also asked about other communities. He was unaware of any negative feeling on this one. It was just another tool in the tool belt.
Okay. Right.
I just have one more question for the solicitor. One of the sentences, in a manner consistent with the legal requirement that each foreign trade zone be operated as a public utility.
So there are federal laws that apply here, and there's sort of like a watchdog, and I'm sure that what that is they're looking at everything from the rates and the prices, et cetera. But we as a municipality would not be involved with that if this all were to occur. I can tell you this is recently coming out to all the municipalities, and on Monday night, South Kingstown, for what it's worth, they approved. They thought it was a great idea, anything that can help promote business in the community, especially, as you said, Ed, the small and medium-sized ones.
Okay. So what's this council's pleasure?
Motion that we
Well, the motion would be to support and to endorse the letter that was attached that they're asking for.
Support and the letter that was attached.
Mr. Riendo.
We need to submit the letter, basically.
To submit the letter to Mr. Riendo? Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, is item I3. This is a correspondence from John Pacheco III, the President of the Boroughville Town Council, again requesting the council to support issues relating to the location of the power plant.
So I reached out to the solicitor this morning in regards to this. As you all recall, there was a resolution request from us going back a few months, and he and I spoke for a little bit. Mike, could you share your thoughts with what you shared with me this morning?
Sure. I think at this point, this would merit a receive and file. You're already on record as supporting it. That's all public knowledge. And now I really think what's happening is there's a marketing campaign going on at this point, and so I would receive and file.
I continue to support our previous resolution. I'll make a motion to receive and file.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Yeah, the next item is a request for executive session, which we'll take up at the conclusion of the public agenda. The next item is bid 869. This is for the screw pump rehabilitation of the exterior coating system. You have 3 bids submitted. The first is from Hemi Enterprises of Attleboro in the amount of $45,000. The second is from R.J. Forbes Painting Contractor Incorporated, also of Attleboro, in the amount of $45,400. And the third is from John W. Egan Company of Newtonville, Massachusetts, in the amount of $71,440.
Make a motion to refer this to the Town Administrator's Office to act in the best interest of the town.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
After discussion today with our water pollution control superintendent, we'd like to reject all bids. They're much too high. Okay. We're going to re-advertise.
So I withdraw my previous motion and by recommendation to reject all bids that are presented here in front of us for 869.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to reject all bids. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I thought you were giving me a curveball with that one.
Okay, the next item is also a request for an executive session, and now we have the individual council member agenda items, beginning with the chairman, item M1.
I'm looking at the time because I'm going to keep this extremely brief. Diane, you didn't know I was going to ask you this, but if you go on our website right now, on the homepage, you will see e-permitting. Diane, tell us about e-permitting real quick, would you?
Thank you, Nathan. So the building department and the sewer department and the fire department are all accepting permits online, e-permitting. It's an initiative that the state really worked on with all of the municipalities. We were not in the first round of the e-permitting program. We wanted them to kind of work with some other people and get the kinks out, and so we joined this second round. So if you go to the link that's on our website, it will get you to the e-permitting website, and you'll log in as a contractor. There's a series of questions that pop up. If you've done this in other communities, then you put your information in. It will pre-populate with everything that you've already entered as far as your business name and so forth. You can pay online as well. We do still need paper plans. We're not set up with our infrastructure yet to have. You can PDF things and you can upload them. But if you're a big project with a thick set of plans, I think they'll have to still be brought in. But I think it's been a great success. We have a kiosk over at 9 Court Street. If you don't have access to a computer, you can come in and sit, and the ladies will walk you through the website. Or you can, if you're tech savvy, you can do it from your smartphone. You can do it in your pajamas if you want, wherever, at home, on your couch, wherever you want to do wherever you want to file. It's been great, and we're really excited. It's streamlined things a lot for us, and I think it'll be much better for the applicants as well to be able to access it. You can also do a search. You can log on as just an interested person and search and see all the permits and the status of permits and things. So it's really good.
Good traceability, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. You mentioned we weren't first in. The lockbox program that we started this meeting on is a wonderful thing to be first in on. E-permitting is okay not to be first
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Let somebody else figure out what the problems are, and then we'll just we'll get on their shirt tails or coattails.
And you said you were excited, but are you jazzed?
I'm jazzed, Mary. I'm jazzed.
Well, let's calm down just a little then.
That's usually your
Thank you,
word.
Mary. Yeah, it was on one of those things on the list for a long time. So it's nice to finally say we can check
outstanding
that box.
to everyone that
Thank
did it.
you.
Outstanding. Bristol veterans and veterans in general with Veterans Day. What a wonderful event that was. The new Veterans Home is this much of what we should be giving to our veterans, and it's a phenomenal first step. It's a wonderful first step. There's so many great people there. It was said multiple times, the building is beautiful, but the people are that much more outstanding. What else was also a great impact is our Bristol Veterans Council. They're there and have been there and continue to be there. If you haven't taken a moment, please do, and I'm not telling you to go up to Medicom, go over here. Go right out back here. You can see our new or updated war garden. Administrator has worked with our Veterans Council and done some, Department of Public Works, DuPont Landscaping, and if I'm skipping anybody, please tell me. Phenomenal job. Took down these trees that were against the town hall, which is unfortunate, but was also very necessary. The roots were getting underneath the monument and also town hall. They looked pretty, but they were starting to do some damage. They took those down. They they took down some shrubs over here and put some more appropriately sized ones that will not grow to that immense size. That sunlight that's come into the Burnside building has also made a big difference in there too. So if you haven't taken a moment, that impact that I was talking about, I love Veterans Day morning going over there. It's about a 3-minute ceremony. If you've never done it, put it on your calendar for next year. You take a wreath, and they put it on the memorial, and they play taps, and it's about a 3-minute ceremony, but I find it's more impactful than all the speeches, and I was one of the people that did the speech, all the speeches at Veterans Day. It's just, it's so true, it's so real. So if you haven't done it, take a moment next year. It's about 8:30 or so, and it's advertised, but come down and experience that. It's wonderful. I'm going to leave you with, we have a study of the school funding that we've been talking about for a little while. And the town of Bristol, worked out we want to do a study. We want to look at the 3 options that are available to us. And what are they? There's probably multiple, but 3 we've decided on is a taxing authority, staying where we are right now, and improving the systems that we have in place, or deregionalization. Why are we looking at all of this? Because we have to look at all of this. We had a meeting recently which we approved that study. We referred it over to Warren. They would like to be part of the study, and part of the study means input and also funding for it. We're working with Rep. Marshall to get some, most, or all of it paid by the state, and that is our goal. But regardless of what happens there, we are going to take the next steps to be a good, balanced approach to all of this, with no biases towards one thing or another. We must look at all of it. And I'm hoping from this study that we'll have the information that this town needs to make an informed decision, along with lots of input from a lot of people about what the next step is. It's not just about the dollars, but that's part of it. And that's part of what this study is. This study's not just dollars. It's about process. It's about what the next steps are. What should we be thinking of that we're not right now? It's a massive undertaking, but we have to do this. We're going to do this, and this council said we were going to, and this whole town said we were going to. And I wanted to leave you with that those have not gone by the wayside. It took a lot of effort to get to this point, and there's a lot more effort to move forward. So, thank you. Good night.
Mr. Sweeney.
Bit by bit, I think we'll get there with the schools, for sure. There was an article in the Providence Journal on Sunday, November 19th. Maybe some of you have seen it, but it's called Recycling Rejects from Plastic Bags to Giant Snakes. And I just thought it was a really interesting article just to bring to the council, because what we're seeing in their recycling bins are plastic bags, and you don't want to put plastic bags in your recycling bin. Batteries, although they are recyclable, they're not recyclable at our facility. Propane tanks. Other dangers are hypodermic needles and other medical waste. You definitely don't want to put that in the recycling bin. And some crazy stuff that people have been putting in the recycling bins are 357 Magnum handgun was found in the recycling bin. Chief, can you believe that? A deer carcass and a 6-foot-long boa constrictor was also found in the recycling bin. So a lot of crazy stuff. So leave that out of your recycling bin. And
Unless it has this thing on the side of the snake saying it's okay to recycle.
Stay away from the guns, please. No guns in the recycling bin. Well, long and the short of it, what's good in the recycling bin, just really quickly, we want to make sure that paper, cartons, and cardboard are flattened. They're in the recycling bins. Metals, cans, lids, and foil. Bottles and jars for glass. And plastic containers. So just make sure those are in there and you're golden. So keep it simple because we don't want our recycling to get rejected when it goes up there. And we know all about the contamination. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about the Grand Illumination this Saturday. It's going to happen, I think, between 4 and 6. It's a lot of fun. Bristol's going to be, it's really just a really fun activity. Shop local, the restaurants will be rocking, stores will be open. I think we'll all be down there to celebrate, so
Absolutely.
Please come down on Saturday. It's going to be a really good time. Have a good night. Thanks.
Mr. Tiska.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to bring to everyone's attention that there will be our first JFC meeting tomorrow night, Thursday, at Mount Hope High School in the cafeteria. So this meeting kicks off a series of meetings which will culminate in the ultimate consideration of the school department's budget. So the purpose of this first meeting is sort of an overview. First, to start with understanding what the financial obligation there is from the school department to maintain existing programs. So in essence, what are the 3-year projections from the school department to keep what we have going? Second, we want to revisit the decreasing in state aid and what that amounts to projection-wise for the next 3 years. Lining those two things up, what's left is what the local contribution has to be. And we'll have a quick 3-year projection on what's left for both the town of Warren and Bristol to make up. And then I hope to be able to consider action to determine what the possible gap may be in what the needs are from the school department that need to be filled by the communities. And if there's a gap, I want to start to identify what that gap is and how we can address it. So that's all to be discussed tomorrow night, Thursday, 7 o'clock, Mount Hope High School cafeteria. So please come, please become engaged. If you have any questions on the process, the numbers, contact me directly, and I'll be glad to answer the questions as I can. If not, direct you in the right direction. So thank you for that, and that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Perilla.
Thank you. Well, we started with Veterans Day, which was terrific and very, very, very successful event at the Veterans Home because it was very crowded there.
Yes, it was.
To Thanksgiving, now on to Christmas. And in addition to the event on Saturday that Tim mentioned, there's the concert that's the annual concert that's held at St. Mary's. This year it's at 7 o'clock on Sunday night. So, and that's always a great event. And Joan Roth, as you know, has done that for, 30 years or so. And, it's handing over the reins to someone new, but I think she's the guest conductor, so she'll probably play a very big role still in that. So I'm happy that whole concert series, that whole concert will continue. Lots of events taking place. It's hard to believe, the holidays are very much upon us. I just wanted to make one comment on the recycling article that was in the paper. What really struck me on the contamination, and it wasn't necessarily, they really highlighted Providence as a contamination. And when I didn't realize there was a fine attached and that they would reject your load of your recyclables if it was contamination. And the city of Providence is up to already, I think, over $800,000 in fines. And I thought that was unbelievable when you think of like the needs that they have in the schools and other places, that there's almost be probably by the end of the year, $1 million, over $1 million. And the efforts that they're undertaking neighborhood by neighborhood because of people from other countries and languages and so forth. But I think that was really quite a shocking number to me. So I don't know what ours is. I don't think it's anywhere near that. What they did say, also in that article that I thought was interesting, is, you know, we want sometimes talk about this, but not very much. But, you know, a lot of towns have gone to the automatic, I don't know what you call it, the automatic, like, lifting of the recycling bins. So there's no, automation, And so there's no human contact. And they said the towns that were still doing it themselves had at least, like, a visual. So, like, our guys could take a quick look, go like, oh, that doesn't belong there, let me take it out. So that's being pulled out before it even goes into, you know, into the truck. So they made a reference to that as well. So I think that was also another interesting point in that article. So with that is all I have. Thank you.
And Mr. Stewart.
So our Department of Public Works Recycling, they're registered with Animal Planet, so when they go in the bin and if there's a boa constrictor, they know how to handle it just appropriately to remove the snake out of the recyclable bin.
Yeah, right.
So, this past Saturday, hats off to the Lady Auxiliaries group from the Bristol Fire Department, the third annual toy drive at Jackie's Galaxy. Always a great attendance, and we all talk about how the holidays are upon us. The Grand Illumination. Congratulations to Mike Burns, who's the spirit of Christmas this year. So very well deserved. But while I was at the toy drive, Courtney and Melanie, who, you know, was at the door entrance, said, you know, Eddie, do you need the seat behind us? And the story behind that is last year I had a seat behind them because we were involved with the Solarize program back then when we were trying to secure a grant for the town, and we needed to meet a threshold of signatures to secure the 5,000. So I utilized that event to secure as many signatures, and I must commend all our colleagues who contributed with the signatures, but I have to commend Councilwoman Perella because of your efforts. You went above and beyond, you know, with Diane and myself with a lot of signatures, even at that event. I know we don't have the So I said, no, I don't think we're securing a grant, so I'm just here to, you know, enjoy the event and donate the toys and whatnot. But that just leads me into this Tuesday evening at the Maritime Center. There will be a Solarize Bristol workshop from 7 to 9 with our community development and the organization. And as we all said from last year, if you're a resident of Bristol, please at least take the time to look into the program. Maybe you might not want to do it, but at least if you look into it, I believe it's a great initiative and opportunity for our residents to take advantage. We talk about also with the holidays of looking after our elders. It's cold; it's getting cold out there. Our animals, and help those that are in need all along if you can, because there's a lot of events. And with that said, thank you, Mike Davis, Archie Martins, everyone who came out tonight, and everyone tuning in at home. So thank you.
I want to know when Diane's going to get the grant so that we could get that solar, the solar belly thing.
We were talking about that, because,
That, you know, that was my signatures and my hope. That was my dream. That would have made me very jazzed, but...
Don't de-jazz, Mary.
Town administrator agenda items.
Yeah, where are you going with that, right?
I was going to mention jazz, but
Get jazz.
sweepers will be out tonight in conjunction with DOT. Snowflake is going up, I believe, as we speak. Looking forward to the Grand Illumination this weekend. Thank you to our volunteers from the Christmas Festival, Tanya Kieran, Mike Riley. We all know who he is. And the donors, their names are in the companies are all listed out front of our Burnside building. We're doing well. Our departments, they're all in place. They've been dependable, and you know, quite often you hear me praise the police department or sewer department, fire department, but during the last month I made note of our finance department, especially the clerks. You know, they had a heavy task with the tax phase out and getting the documents out, and you know, I didn't notice that you know, I'd say 99% of our residents honorably paid taxes, and I try to thank them when I could. But they're steady, they're polite, and I did appreciate that. Other than that, we're doing well. Hopefully by Friday, I'll have good news with 2 appointments, senior coordinator and our new tax assessor. So Friday, I'm hoping to make those announcements. I'm very confident in who we were able to select after a number of interviews. That's all I have. Good night, and hopefully we'll see you Saturday.
The motion would be to convene into executive session pursuant to 42465A5 regarding lease of town property, cell tower on Lot 25, Assessors Plat 156, and solar project at the landfill, on town property at the landfill.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good night, everyone.